Good evening from Blades Music. Today I want to talk to you about the Color Toolbar for Studio One. Now I've talked in the past about an earlier version of this, but there's some updates to this that I think are important and worthy of a new video. And so I want to talk a little bit about why would you want to use a color bar for Studio One? Well, it makes it quicker and easier to get your colors assigned to your tracks and your channels. First and foremost. Two, it allows you to order and select which colors and in what order they're going to be in your selection of colors. And if you watched my previous video, you know I'm on about the fact that it's kind of a pain. I'll show that. And three, it allows you to auto-assign these things to your tracks based on criteria rather than having to do your literal assignments. Let's get to it. First things first, before you do anything, please take a moment, look down there for the like. If you like the stuff that I'm doing, click the little like button. If you want to share it with someone you think might like it, do that. Subscribe to the channel and of course click the notification bell because you otherwise, just because you're subscribed, won't be notified. If you want to be, click that. Before you install anything, if you have a previous version of this, you need to go in and make sure that you've exported your settings and saved them in a safe place so that you'll be able to get back to those settings and you don't lose them like I did the first time. Easy enough to do. I'm going to get into the description of how exactly you do that here in a moment. But once you do, you can restore all your settings. If you watched another of my videos, you know you should be backing up all of your stuff, which I did, so I was able to get back to my files exactly how as I wanted them. Basically, you're going to download the file. I'm going to put the link down there in the description. This is going to come from, right now, a Wix site. If that changes in the future, I'll go back and modify the description as well. But right now, that's where it's at. You go out there, grab that. It's going to come down as a zip file. The first thing that you're going to want to do after that is open Studio One, and you're going to find where your scripts files are located. And I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So what you're going to want to do is after you've downloaded that file, you're going to put it in the proper location. And that's going to be your scripts folder, which is more than likely inside of wherever you have Studio One. Now I'm looking on a Windows machine right now. On a Mac, you're going to have to go and locate where that scripts is within your package. But in the case of this, where I'm going to be looking on a PC, is on your C drive, under Program Files, under the Presonus folder, and then Studio One 5 and Scripts. So here we are. You can see here's my color bar 2.5a.zip file. You want to make sure that that file is what's here. You're going to remove anything else that might be in this folder that's color bar related and back it up somewhere, but you can just put that right in there. No need to unzip it. Just leave it just as it is and drop it in that folder. And then you're good to go to restart Studio One. Now, using the small color toolbar is where you're going to start with this. And so what's going to happen here, let me go ahead and start up a new song, and I'm going to use my standard scratch pad for this. So here is my scratch pad file, and the first thing that you'll see is up at the top, you'll notice that there's a new color bar icon. When you click that, you're going to get the small version of this by default. Now, if you have an older version, you probably notice that this looks a little bit different than your older version in that it's not as split up. It's in larger groupings. The colors on this have been standardized to a more common layout of the colors. And so they also kind of put them in larger groupings together. So the most basic thing that we can do here with the color bar is select colors for our channels and for our events. Now in my previous video, the one thing that I went over is the fact that when you look at a particular track, if you click this little strip to the left, you get this kind of random sequence of colors. It's really difficult to know who came up with this order, and you cannot change it, and you can't change what colors are in it. So leaving that behind, when you look at the color bar here at the top, you can see that it's a way more organized sequence of colors. Now in this case, I've obviously modified this. So I've got mine as blue, green, sequence of reds, some yellows, some browns, some purples, and then this other random stuff over there to the right. I haven't gotten that far into that many different kinds of colors, but that kind of shows you what you can do. And the simplicity of this thing is you select a track and you pick a color. So if I wanted that to be red, I would click on red, and there it is. If I happen to have any events on that track, right? So let's create something here. Those would also be colored. So if I went back over here to a green color, then the track header itself is going to be green, as is the contents of that track. If I split that in half, I'll show you here in a moment some options that you have for doing that. So if you'll notice also in the middle here, you have the C and an E. But in this one, if you hit the E, this is for events. So I can color this event. I'm going to go ahead and split this into a couple other pieces, right? So we've got a couple of different events going on here. Here, I can select the events, and then I can choose colors like this. And as I choose these different colors, they'll apply just to those events. Now you'll notice that I didn't change this one over here. I'm going to go back out of events mode. And as we're on this channel, as I color the rest of the channel, you'll see as I choose all of these different colors for it, it doesn't affect those that were independently set as events. So that can quickly allow you to get to your channels. It also are your tracks. It also does your channels down below, as you can see here. If I change that, it's going to change down there as well. And then you can also get to your events. So that is the small toolbar. Super useful just on its own. Forget about any of the other functions. Okay, I'm going to undo my way out of all of that. All right, so we're back to the default. So I didn't want to go over the conform because it's kind of relies on understanding this other part. So the detached color toolbar you get to by clicking on this little detach icon, just like you would for the console or any of the other pieces. When I click on that, I will get the large toolbar. Right, now this, you can still, of course, do the same thing. You can select your channels or your events in the event that you have events selected, and choose your colors from the color bars here. You can also, in either event, go to the little strips next to the colors, whether you're there or above the colors on the small toolbar. What's really cool about this is that we can go into each of these colors and we can set them according to the RGB scheme. You can find those colors online, you can use color sampling, any of that kind of stuff, and you can apply all of these different colors to all the different slots. One of the next things here is that's the color, of course, and then you've got your name next to it. Now, the name is for your eyes, basically, so you can identify what this is about. So you can see, in my case, I've got my drum bus here as this dark blue color, and I've got my vocal bus as the dark green color up here, right up there on the vocal bus. Guitars, etc., etc. These names by themselves don't mean anything, but there is a function in here where you can make them mean something. So if you name these with something that means something to you, like in this case, I'm going to say S means something, you'll see I have this S colon. There's two special keys that you can use here, S dot or S colon. Now I'm going to use S colon in this case, and I'm going to go ahead right here, and I'm going to say to add a new track. And when I add that track, it's going to, by default, I'm not going to take anything. I'm going to call it S colon something, and it's going to be red by default. So here we are with that S colon something. Now, because I've set this thing here by name, that will automatically apply to any channels that start with S colon when I click conform. So watch here, we've got this brown color instead of red, hit conform, and now that's that brown color. So why this is useful is if you want to name things consistently through your sessions, like you see I have in mine, V colon for my lead vocals, V, B colon for my backups. I've got D colon for my drums, etc. And I don't know if I was the first one who came up with this idea, but apparently it's caught on because a lot of people have requested it from the Color Bar utility to be able to name things this way so that they colorize this way. You should check out my other video on how to use these for the automatic channel and track filtering as well. I'll link that up there in the somewhere up there. Okay, so I'm going to undo that stuff there. So that's one possible use of the naming. Now, you don't have to do it that way. And in my case, I've actually done it a little bit different where I happen to like my buses to be in the same color scheme as the tracks that belong to those buses. Some people like all of their buses to be the same colors. The way that the Color Toolbar was made, it allows you to do either of those things. So I'm going to show you my way first, and then I'm going to show you the other way as well. So in this case, you can see I have named my drum bus D dash, and then a space, and then drum bus. And you can see my drum tracks are D colon, and my percussion tracks down here, P colon. My guitar bus is G dash, and then a space, and then guitar bus. So you can see there's a pattern here, and you probably want to go through this and figure out for yourself what makes sense from a naming scheme, because it can apply to both the filtering and to the color bar. So how would I apply this to the color bar? So in my case, I've named this thing up here, drum bus, and if you click this little plus sign just to the left of the name, you'll see the keywords. This keyword list works basically the same way as the keyworded name, if you will, except you can use whatever you want, whatever characters you want. Down there in the name, you're limited to the colon and the dot. Up here, I can do a dash, I can do multiple letters, I can do full names of instruments that are going to be in that section, whatever I want to do in the keyword section. So in my case, my D dash is going to handle my drum bus. If I happen to create another drum bus, I would put a D dash in front of it, and I would have that as well. So let's use that as an example here on the vocals. So you can see I have V dash for the vocal bus, and that's automatically this dark green color right here. And if you look at the plus next to that, you'll see V dash. That's what it's looking for to color that item. So if I happen to create a new bus that was going to contain these two vocals, and I said add a bus for selected channels, you'll see by default that's going to come up gray. What I'm going to do is I'm going to call that V dash backup vocals, like this. Now it doesn't automatically change, but as soon as you hit conform here or hit the C on the small version of the toolbar, you can watch this vocal bus that's right here, this backup vocal bus, is going to conform to that green color like that. And now we have the green color here that's the same for both buses, but different from the tracks themselves. And that is because of this V minus right here. Now you'll notice in mine, I have mine set up as, say for example, in my guitar tracks, I have the guitar bus is the G minus. You can see that my acoustic guitars are GA colon. My electric guitars are GE colon. And my bass is GB colon. So if I had multiples of those different tracks, name them that way, they're going to take on their correct colors, along with the clips, of course, unless I override those clips. So you can see that's how the colors and the names work. It's also how the keywords work. Now you can also use these keywords for other things. Like let's say you're doing orchestral stuff, and you've got violins and violas and cellos and basses and contrabasses or whatever other instruments you have. You could put all of those like in this case, you could put all of those up in the list of keywords, and any tracks that have those keywords in them will automatically conform to whatever color you have selected to that. So you can just create a whole bunch of new tracks, doesn't matter what colors they are. You can get them into their groupings the way that they're supposed to be very easily and very quickly by clicking the Conform button. The color channel types, going back to what I was talking about buses. So if you look at the very top of this thing, you'll see these color channel types up here, and you'll see I actually have bus unchecked because when I click Conform, I don't want all of my buses to conform to the same bus color. I've worked around that by unchecking it. Good smart thought on developing this thing so it's so flexible to work to whatever needs you might have. But you see you've got your bus, your effects, your VCA, your aux, and your instrument options over here. And then you've also got some hashtags over there on the right that are assigned to a bunch of different colors. You can assign those hashtags to other colors and it'll automatically assign to those channel types as well. So let's say, for example, you didn't work like I work and you want all of your buses to be the same color. So I'm going to undo, I'm going to go back to my scratch. So again, you can see my vocal bus is green, my drum bus is blue, my guitar bus is red, and then I've got a keyboard bus out here that's a purple color, right? So let's say that we wanted to work where I conformed all of those instead. So I'm going to go ahead and mark the bus. I'm going to come down here to the bus section. You can see those will be dark red. So you're going to notice this channel, and that channel are automatically going to turn to this dark red color as soon as I hit Conform, like that, because they're all buses. So now you can see them standing out in their different sections. And there might be a point where I might change my method, because when I look at this, it is pretty clear where the buses are, and even though they don't look like they go with the channels, it's pretty easy to see them like this. So that might be a way that I might want to go. And so that applies also for, go out of that, for the VCAs, for the auxes, for instruments, for your listen bus, for your master bus. All of these things will conform to all of these different types of color. So I'll give you that one more example. Let's say I wanted to add, I'm going to add an effect here. And so we're going to go over to the browser. And I'm going to pull in an effect. And we'll just go ahead and use the fat channel. And I'm going to use that as a send. Probably not what you'd use the fat channel for, I suppose. But I'm going to use the send on the vocal bus here. That's automatically going to create an effects channel. You can see that here. My effects channels will be colored this bright red color. And when I hit Conform, you're going to see that automatically happen. Now you'll see that the bus automatically colored like that too, because I happen to have bus selected. So let's undo that. And I'm going to uncheck bus, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to do that same thing. Put the fat channel in here as a send. If I can sneak it in there, not that time. Let's get rid of that. Bring this up a little bit. Get rid of this thing. All right, let's put this fat channel in as a send. We'll see we get this. This time I have bus unchecked, and I'm going to hit Conform. We're still going to get that red color for the effects, but we're not going to get the conforming for the bus channel itself. So that's another piece of this. Think of conforming like batch application of applying your colors. You want to experiment around with this. Make sure you understand exactly how it's going to work, which things you want to have checked, which things you don't, what colors you want to have, and then set your template up. So you've got everything where you need it. You can easily get things the colors you want them to be, and it makes it effortless to really easily visually recognize where all your tracks and channels and things like that are. As I said at the beginning of this video, I hope you found it useful. Subscribe, like, share. I'd appreciate your support in any way that you can give it. I hope you get use out of this video and also out of the Color Toolbar. And if you have any comments, please leave those below or over on the Color Toolbar website. Either place, Great way to get some feedback. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to watch this. Have a good one.